Hey all, Zan here. I wanted to do a super quick update video on Glissen and whether it's worth it or not. I did some testing on stream this last Friday on whether Glissen was useful for Techters. You'll see that footage in the background for anyone who wants to confirm my numbers. I'll also try to not have any text on here in case it blocks a number someone wanted to see. If you do want to see the text of what I discovered, I'll have it in the description below. I also did not test the Talus because it's all elemental damage anyway, but could be useful as a multi-weapon option. Before I get into what's going on in the background, for those who are new here, I'm Zan and put out NGS videos about once a week. I also stream on Friday nights at twitch.tv/ZanTM. As always, if you enjoyed the video and want to see more like it, hitting that like and subscribe button are greatly appreciated. And with that, on to the meat of the video. In order to test this out, I used a +0 Cattleya Wand and a +0 Glissen Wand. Both had 0 augments and both used my normal units. I wanted to try and get this to be as even as possible, even though the attack power was lower on the Glissen. I also wanted to confirm this using the augment sim that I've talked about before, link in the description. I took Strahga, Glissen, and Cattleya with a level 4 potential and a level 5 fixed attack and compared them together. Strahga pulled out ahead in most categories, but Glissen kept up with Cattleya in max and crit damage, falling 7 points behind in minimum damage, thus hurting its average damage. This was to be expected since Glissen's a 3-star weapon which has a 70% minimum variance as opposed to the 75% minimum variance. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, I go into that in my second Techter video, which will be popping up in the upper right hand corner. So how'd the test go? In the first half, I'm using my Cattleya weapon with frying pan camo, and you can see the numbers popping up. I counted 59 Photonic Fury hits and 61 hits with my primary attacks, with Wave Crash being a majority of my attacks. I was lucky enough to crit on both runs during my second Wave Crash hit, and I saw I had a crit of 200, which means that's my max damage times 1.2. My weakest first Wave Crash of 22 was 113, which gives us a decent floor. For those who work with stats normally, 22 hits isn't a very good data pool, but for our purposes right now, it's good enough. The Glissa Wand, on the other hand, only took 52 Fury hits and 56 normal attacks. This did have a couple more normal 2 and 3 attacks versus the cat test, but it shouldn't affect things that drastically. Again, the exact numbers are in the description below. This time, my lowest of 18 Wave Crash first hits was 114, slightly higher, but it could still be a quantity of hits issue. What I can say for sure is that the crit damage on the second Wave Crash hit was 216, which is 16 points higher than Cattleya. But wait, didn't I say that the crit damage would be the same? Normally that'd be true, but due to elemental weakness you get a damage modifier. Because Techters get their elemental bonus during the Fury damage, each hit is actually physical damage. Because of this, it's capitalizing on the 1.2x damage bonus for matching the weak element. Numbers are slightly off, but that's for other reasons beyond the scope of this video. This change is also why we were able to capitalize on our increased elemental down rate. If the test went further, we could have seen the possible variance for number of physical downs versus elemental downs, but I'll test that later on. With all that, it means you should go out and buy that Glissen weapon and max it out, right? Not quite. The bonus Glissa gives is only useful against enemies that are weak to lightning, and while yes, there is a mess of enemies weak to lightning currently, once the event's over, the only ones remaining will be Nexphera and Petisphera, assuming the Gigantics that are sticking around aren't lightning weak. Either way, this will become a bossing weapon after the anniversary event is over. If you do want to have a powerful weapon for soloing urgent quests and have the supplies to spare, then go for it. For most people though, especially the more casual players that don't have a lot of time to go farming, it's better to stick with your Cattleya or Strahga wands, whichever you have already. Sega's already shown that things can change in a moment's notice, so it's probably better to save your resources, unless you have the Photon Chunks and Meseta stocked up to near excessive levels. So, if you want to go into the deep end and make this for yourself, which should you go for? If you want the best of the best, then go with the level 5 fixed attack and level 4 potency, but level 3 on both is a reasonable budget option. You do lose about 3 points of damage on paper for every hit if you do go that route, as a note. Level 4 potential and level 3 attack only drops you to about 1 point, so if you have the spare cubes, go for the potential over the level 5 attack. Of course, bringing it to +40 enhancement is expected. Augments are still somewhat flexible, but Lightning Exploit is a requirement, giving you 2.5% potency to lightning weak enemies, which is the whole reason why you're using this weapon. Gigas Tech 2 and Next Soul 2 would be my next picks, being the only 2% gains outside of Tech 3, and either Tech 3, Ale Domina, or Dreadkeeper 2. Picking Dread would allow for increased HP and PP with a little more damage, Domina would give you more damage for not as much HP and PP, and Tech 3 would give you the most damage in exchange for no increased HP or PP. Either way, it allows for a little more customization as to what you feel you need. And with that, the question should be answered in true Zan fashion of it depends. In the end, it's more or less a side grade after the event's over, so it wouldn't be worth it if you want it for an everyday weapon if you've already maxed your current gear out. The same applies to those who are still working on their gear. By the time you've gotten it maxed out, the value drops off quite a bit. But for those who do want to have a boss-specific weapon on your palette and have nothing else better to do, then go for it. Wrapping up the video, thanks for those watching all the way through. Let me know in the comments below if this helped you make a decision or how you decided to build yours out. If you thought the info was useful, pressing that thumbs up would be appreciated. And if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button to be notified when I do my next video. As you can see, I do some testing on stream when things come up, so feel free to join me at twitch.tv/ZanTM every Friday night at 7 PDT. Hope to see you next time, and have a good one.